Hi, my name is Anika, and welcome to my channel, Well with Anika. Today, I wanted to come in and talk to you guys and share a little bit about my hysterectomy journey and how I arrived at it. On my channel, I like to normalize wellness in life and business, and a lot of times, wellness looks different for all of us. So for me, wellness is just really trying to cultivate a balance between being an entrepreneur, a mother, a wife, and a caregiver. So in this season of my life, I'm having to do a little self-preservation and prioritizing my health, hence the surgery. So in my research, like most of us do, we head over to YouTube University and we start Googling things that we're anticipating or stuff that we'd like to do, whether it's a hobby or a new meal. And so in my research on YouTube, trying to find most recent details about the Da Vinci laparoscopic hysterectomy procedure, I couldn't find anyone really talking about being an entrepreneur, how they prepared themselves for the surgery. So I thought it would be a good idea for me to just give a different perspective on what I'm doing in preparation for the hysterectomy surgery. So if you're not familiar with what a hysterectomy is, and I think there's different levels. I'm not sure the doctors really call them, total hysterectomy, partial, full, and all of that. But the hysterectomy procedure consists of actually removing the uterus from the body. So the total hysterectomy actually removes the uterus, the cervix, the ovaries, and the fallopian tube. So you're having all of your female reproductive organs removed from your body. What I understand with the Da Vinci method is that they actually take a robot to do the procedure while the doctor is actually sitting across the room controlling the robot to actually do all of the procedure within the patient's body. So that's the procedure that I'm going to have. I'm kind of excited about it because I feel like that's, that's like a new and innovative way. I know the Da Vinci machine has been around for a while. Robot has been around for a while. And people aren't really getting a full hysterectomy through their abdomen anymore. But some people still have to, especially if you have fibroids and different things like that they can't actually pull the uterus through the vagina. They actually have to cut you. But in my case, I am having the laparoscopic where they're going to put several little holes in my belly, stick the instruments through with the robot, and actually pull the uterus through the vagina. Let me just say this really quick before I keep going and saying the vagina word. This series of videos may be a little graphic for some of you guys if you're not really wanting to talk about blood and guts and surgery and, probably poop and discomfort and, like really personal things. You may not want to tune in for these particular videos. So because I will be very transparent. I am not a doctor, so if I ramble off something in regards to a study that I read or some sort of medical journal that I've been looking into, it doesn't mean that I actually have the experience to offer any type of medical advice. It'll just be speaking from my particular opinion. So if this is something you want to, watch, stay tuned, for this video and the series of videos I'll have coming after it. So like I was saying before, I didn't really see anyone speak about having the laparoscopic surgery or having any major surgery, especially a hysterectomy, as a solo entrepreneur. And how I feel that was really different from the average person is when you don't work, you don't get paid as a solo entrepreneur. And so it's really important for you to set yourself up for success and to be able to come out on the other end of recovery where you still have a business intact and you're still able to go back to work and pick up where you left off. So I'll talk a little bit in this series about how I'm going to prepare so when I go back to servicing my clients, I can pick up where I left off, right? In this video, I'm just going to talk about how I arrived at having a hysterectomy and what my symptoms were. So in 2022, I went to have a conversation with my gynecologist and to talk about my periods being really heavy. There had been a shift within my body chemistry, I felt. My cycles just weren't, they were still monthly on time, but they just were very heavy, very uncomfortable. So if I can take you back 10 years prior to that, I had what was called an ablation. An ablation is where they go in and cauterize the inside of the uterus and to kind of calm down the amount of bleeding that you're having. And for a good number of women, and I want to say it might be 60% or so, they actually stop having a cycle. Well, that wasn't the case for me. Initially in the beginning, I had quite a bit of bleeding, but it did slow it down and make my periods not so heavy. But I still had a period every 28 days. It never stopped. And I also still experienced the cramps and the pain and different things like that. And so my ablation was considered a failed ablation. During the actual ablation procedure, there was a medical student who was assisting my gynecologist at the time. And when they go in and actually sound the uterus, meaning they take it looked like a metal rod, and they go in and they measure basically the length of my uterus from the cervix to the back of my uterus. Well, the student went a little too far and she actually punctured my uterus. So a failed ablation for me was really not being able to continue the procedure. I think he said when they went in to apply the hot water, an alarm went off and they could tell that there was a hole in my uterus or something like that. So they weren't able to complete the procedure. So technically, I had a failed ablation. So, we were scheduled for a hysterectomy December 30th of 2022. I did ask if I could have the ablation again, and he told me that I was not a candidate because it was a failed ablation initially. In preparation for that, I had to have a biopsy of my uterus lining to make sure there was no cancer cells. And then I also had to have a vaginal ultrasound. And that's where they take this long wand and actually go into the vaginal canal and take a look around at the uterus to check and make sure, there are no other issues before the surgery. So I went through those particular tests prior to what was going to be my date of December 2022. And I'll tell you this, the biopsy of the uterine lining was some of the worst pain that I ever experienced. It took place inside the doctor's office, and I didn't think it was going to be that invasive. I mean, I knew what they were going to go in and do, actually inside the uterus and take a little bit of my tissue. I didn't know that it was going to hurt that bad, but it was the worst pain. So if that is something that you are anticipating prior to actually having your hysterectomy, you may want to ask for a numbing solution or ask for them to give you some sort of sedation or something like that if you do not have a high tolerance for pain. And I feel like I do have a high tolerance for pain in a lot of cases, but this was really painful. My husband was in the room with me as well, and I think he was traumatized by the whole procedure. But anyway, made it through that, had the ultrasound, and I went on a holiday vacation for Thanksgiving. And when I came back, I decided that I didn't want to have the surgery. I just had an eerie feeling about having the surgery. I don't know what it really was, but now when I think about everything that took place later on in that same year, it was a good thing that I wasn't scheduled for it. One of the reasons was I felt like I wasn't prepared financially. During that time, we had our wellness store, and I had stopped doing hair full time. I was still seeing a few clients here and there, but I was really focusing on getting the wellness store off the ground. And so anytime you start a brand new business, you have to really watch your financial situation. And so I have a husband, and he's really good support, but when you don't work, you don't get paid. And it wasn't a time where I could be away from the store for 6 weeks and not see the small amount of clients that I was seeing for 6 weeks and feel like I could come back to pick up where I left off and be successful. So that was one thing that was making me feel uneasy. Also, by mid-December 2022, I caught COVID, and it was a really bad experience. Also, shortly after the first of the year, 2023, my mother-in-law had a stroke. We ended up closing down our wellness store and moved back to our salon building by that February of 2023. So a lot of things had taken place, and I think had I took off for 6 weeks, I wouldn't have been able to transition as smoothly, even though there was a lot going on and I got sick and my mother-in-law got sick and there was a lot going on with our family. I still was able, by the grace of God, to make a smooth transition to come back, reopen the store, and resume seeing clients again after, those things took place. So, and I thought things were getting better with my periods as well. I felt like my cycle had kind of slowed down, and I felt like it was, I could tolerate what I was dealing with. So the year goes on and we get to November of 2023 and I can't take it anymore. At this point, I am bleeding heavy. I'm on my cycle for 7 to 10 days, sometimes coming on twice a month. There's blood clots, and the bleeding changed to being a bright red blood versus a darker blood. So I felt like I was hemorrhaging. Went back to the doctor to talk to them about, hey, can we get the ball rolling again for the hysterectomy? I thought I could deal with this and maybe wait it out until, menopause. I'm 49 years old, and I felt like, my mom stopped her cycle at 49. I have to be close because I heard that you kind of pattern after your mom. And so I was thinking, okay, maybe I'm going to stop. So went in and spoke with the doctor, and he says, well, you could stop and then you could go another 5, 6, 7 years with a cycle like this. And I said, no, I can't do it. Can we go ahead and get the ball rolling again? And he said, yes, let me, check on some things. I'll send you for another ultrasound just to make sure things haven't changed, and we'll get things set up. That was right before Thanksgiving. I was set up for a vaginal ultrasound the first week of December, and the test results of that ultrasound came back as if my uterus was thin. And he just said it was extremely thin, but he didn't see anything else that was concerning. So as I looked up what a thin uterus meant, they called it uterine atrophy, as if my uterus was kind of shriveling up. And I know that that's something that takes place with menopause, during the menopause journey. And I knew I was kind of going through perimenopause because I was having the night sweats, I was having the hot flashes, and the brain fog was so bad. I felt like I had, was losing my memory, like I had Alzheimer's or something. And now that I realize, when I talked to my doctor 3 years prior to that, or 2 years prior, about my brain fog, I'm like, something is wrong with me. I feel like I have ADHD or something. Anyway, so back to December of 2023, got the vaginal ultrasound, saw that my uterus was thinning, but still really no big concern. There were no fibroids or anything like that. But I'm like, why am I having so much bleeding? I'm still waiting on the doctor to call back with a surgery date. Hadn't heard from them. It's after the first of the year. And I said, okay, I'll give it some time. But I went to see my doctor because it was time for me to have a checkup. And one of my concerns with my family practice physician was that I had rapid weight gain. My stomach had just started to protrude, and it almost looked like I was like maybe 3 months pregnant. And my belly fat was like right at the top of my stomach. And I was like, I've never had a belly like this. I've always been a smaller person. I also the sweats and the night sweats and the hot flashes had gotten worse. I had gained about 12 pounds. My blood pressure was higher. I had always kind of struggled with cholesterol since my 30s, and I just didn't feel good. So she ran a battery of tests and saw that my A1C was high as well, that my blood pressure was, I'm normally 120 something over 70 something, and it was like 148 over 80, 89. And I was 170 pounds, which I always linger around 155. And she was really like, what's going on here? What are you doing? One of the things that I had done was I had started a bakery. Oh, I just realized I never told you guys what I do. So I am a cosmetologist, trichologist. I am a hair specialist. I've been in the beauty industry for over 25 years. I have had multiple businesses along the 25 years, in addition to being a hairstylist behind the chair. The most recent business that I just talked about closing was my wellness store. We had opened a CBD store in 2021, and it went for 2 years. Now I am actually, I have a home bakery. So I am a home baker as well. And so that kind of started up towards the end of last year, where I started to bake more than cookies. We originally started to do our home bakery because we were raising money for my son's DC trip. But I won't let me stay focused. So Her concern was that maybe the bakery, with me doing all my new baking in the new business, that was causing me to gain weight because I was eating what I was baking. My eating my own supply of desserts wasn't the issue. I mean, at least I didn't feel like that was, but she was concerned with that. And she says, hey, if you can't, like monitor your consumption of, white sugar and flour, maybe you could consider not doing the bakery for a while until you get your health in order. So I did. I took her advice and kind of stepped away, and then, started to exercise more, started to really watch what I was eating, how many calories I was taking in. But my weight probably changed about 5 pounds within that 6-week time frame that I was due to go back. And I still, had this belly that was protruding. And so I started to do a deep dive into the whole perimenopausal transition and found out that a lot of the symptoms that I was suffering from was associated with perimenopause. So after my 6 weeks, I went back in, spoke with the doctor, and she ran another battery of tests just to see where my hormones were. Because I told her, I said, I feel like perimenopause is really, taking me down. I feel like it's affecting all of my numbers. It's affecting the way my body composition is now. And I would like to get my hormones checked. What I've learned is that checking hormones don't really give a good indicator of whether or not you're in menopause or perimenopause or whatever, but they do kind of tell you where you are in terms of your health. We looked at all of my numbers and they were all terrible. My follicle stimulating hormone showed I was in postmenopause. My estrogen and progesterone also showed I was in postmenopause. I think the progesterone was just non-existent, which I hear that fluctuates depending on what part of the cycle you're in. And at that point, I was just like, the last day of my period was the day before this particular doctor's appointment, when she took the labs. And my testosterone was in the toilet. It was less than 3. It had a little less than sign, 3. And I was like, oh my God, because I know I had been experiencing a lack of libido. And I was talking to her about that as well. So she gave some recommendations on that and asked me if I was still in line to get the hysterectomy. And I told her I hadn't heard from the doctors yet about a surgery date. And she encouraged me to reach back out to my gynecologist to get the ball rolling, to find out what's going on with the ball. Is it rolling? Am I having surgery? And called them back. They got me a date, and here we are. So I have my surgery date, and I'm a little less than 6 weeks, so I'm like 5 weeks away from surgery, and I'm ready to get it done because I feel like, the whole menopause, the situation going on with my uterus and the situation going on with the heavy bleeding and the timing of my cycles and the health of my cycles are all associated with being in perimenopause. I had spoken with my doctor about maybe starting some sort of hormone therapy. And before, my gynecologist did try me on a birth control pill, but that really didn't help with all the things I have going on. So I asked if I could start estrogen and or some sort of patch or something to kind of help with the hot flashes and some of the other things that are going on. And she said that I wouldn't be able to, that I needed to, since I had a uterus, that I wouldn't be able to, start hormone replacement therapy. So, of course, in my research of perimenopause, I've been listening to this doctor named Dr. Mary Claire Haver. She wrote a book called The Galveston Diet, and she also has a new book coming out called The New Menopause. And you guys have to follow her. She is a wealth of knowledge. Her videos are just it's so much good information. And her website, she has a lot of great guides on how to talk to your doctor about, menopause and the menopause journey. And she is really changing the game when it comes to women's health. And I feel like, listening to her has helped me really understand how, they have dropped the ball on our health and the trajectory of our health and how we, when we get into menopause and how we just take a deep decline and age faster, it seems, and have all of these issues from, anxiety to weight gain and just not being healthy overall, even the way it's associated with Alzheimer's. And so Alzheimer's runs in my family, and I'm just really, concerned. So back to hysterectomy. So that's where I am. as of right now. I have started to create a plan that I'll share with you a little later on, but I'll give you a little snippet. I have created a calendar really big in my salon so every client can see my surgery date, the countdown to my surgery date, and the last day I'll be working. So we're all on the same page. I'm trying to get their minds working as to what it is that's going to take place here in the next 5 weeks. And they have been very supportive. Other ways that I'm trying to prepare is just preparing my children. I have 2 sons and a grandson. And my oldest and his wife, just letting them know, the dates and the times. It's going to be Mother's Day weekend. So I won't be able to do Mother's Day that weekend, so we're going to plan to do Mother's Day prior. And that's another important thing with just helping my clients understand, Mother's Day weekend is a really important weekend. A lot of moms get their hair done. A lot of mother-daughters duos come in and, spend that self-care time together. And that's not going to be something I'll be able to do that particular weekend, but I will work a few days prior to that just to get things going. My bakery clients, I am preparing them as well, just letting them know if they would like to order baked goods prior to Mother's Day. The pickup time is going to be a couple of days before. A lot of the cakes and different things that I offer, cookies, they do freeze well, so they can freeze them until actually their Mother's Day dinner. That's the approach I'm taking at this point. One thing I will say is that I do have a disability insurance, and I'm really grateful for that. I have had this insurance in play for a number of years, even though it is not the amount that I would like to have, because at the time that I, planned for the disability insurance, the economy was different. My priorities and my bills were different. And so we know here in 2022, everything has skyrocketed and gone up, but it's still a supplement to my lifestyle that I wouldn't have had in the first place. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful to have had a disability insurance. So that is one thing that, if you're a solo entrepreneur and you are anticipating being off for a while, especially when it comes to your health and you need to take some time off, you want to have a disability insurance in place, something that is going to pay you while you're off. Another way is to, create a savings, for a rainy day savings. And I know for some of us that's hard. As solo entrepreneurs, a lot of times we're pulling resources from different places. We have overhead to pay for, loans to pay back, in addition to our household bills. I am blessed to have a partner. My husband is, very instrumental in taking care of our house and our home. So it doesn't leave me to have to worry about the house and the business, but I still don't want to lose everything because I need to take care of my health. So if you can take away anything from this particular video, is preparation is key. Preparation is key. And the earlier you prepare, even though you're not anticipating surgery, as a solo entrepreneur, you need to have something in place like a disability insurance or some sort of savings that can cushion you while you're off. Some people will go ahead and set aside, 3 months worth of bills, 3 months worth of money to pay for their bills, just in case something happens and they need to be off. However you need to do it, you have to prepare for the future. And then you need to have a relationship with Christ, honey. You need to trust God. And that's what I'm doing in this season as well. If any one of you are going through what I'm going through right now, not necessarily a hysterectomy, maybe you're a solo entrepreneur and you're going to be off for a period of time, please share with me in the comments what you're doing to prepare. You may have an idea or a suggestion for me, and I would love to hear it to just kind of help me prepare for taking this time off. If you have already gone through something like this and you were not prepared, what do you wish you would have done differently? I think that sometimes our mistakes, and I'm here for sharing my mistakes. I feel like some of our mistakes can help another person avoid that pitfall. So if that's the case for you, give me that in the comments as well. I appreciate all feedback during this season and time. It's an uncharted territory. I've never, other than having a child, and when I had my youngest son 14 years ago, I was only off for like 4 weeks. And at that time, I was a solo entrepreneur, but I had a salon with about 12 stylists in it. I still had money coming in, even though I was not behind the chair. Well, COVID has changed a lot of that. And most of us are solo entrepreneurs. We're in the salons by ourselves or in the salon suites. We don't have a staff or we don't have booth renters within our salons to help kind of, take care of or supplement our income. So any feedback is great, and I totally welcome it. And I appreciate you all tuning in. If you would like to tune in for the rest of my series, please feel free to hit the subscribe button. Turn on your notifications so you know when I post another video. My goal is to post a video once a week up until my surgery, and then just to take you on the surgery journey with me the day of and through my recovery. So we'll be together for the next few months, and I'm excited to share with you guys. So I hope you all have an amazing day and be well.